So I just finished the first layer of my Batman painting here, and by the time you're watching this video, you will probably already know what the whole deal is with this painting. And unlike me, you will also know what the finished painting looks like. But the past few days that I've been working on this and creating this, let's call it what it is, fan art image here, I had such a good time. So much fun creating this image that it got me thinking. Now don't get me wrong, it's a huge mess painting something like this. It's total chaos if you look at my palette here, but it's also a ton of fun. It got me thinking, why isn't every painting like this? Why isn't every day like this? Because believe me, it's not. Some paintings and some days are just dreadful. I guess it comes down to the one thing, the one paradox that pretty much every artist that I know of is familiar with. For the most part, you cannot have everything. You can enjoy yourself while you create something, you can enjoy the process, or you can enjoy the outcome. It's very rare that all of these things come together and you really do enjoy everything. Every part of the creative process equally, at least in my experience. Now, why is that the case? Well, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, there are many reasons for why, being a creative person and being an artist is difficult, to say the least. But before I move on to some of the difficulties of being a creative person, I gotta mention this video's sponsor, which is BetterHelp, which is also very fitting for a video like this. I've been very fortunate in my life to be very happy artist because I have always had people in my life that I could talk to about all the crazy art-related things that pretty much nobody cares about. But I do know that many people don't have that kind of environment. And I do know how it feels like to have all your thoughts in your mind 24/7 and to be alone with them. And for all those people, I do believe that BetterHelp could be a good option. You get on the app, you answer a few questions, you get paired with a therapist, and you're good to go. And if you use the link in my description, you get 10% off the first month. So I do believe being a creative person and an artist can be one of the most challenging things, physically and mentally. So it's wildly important that artists and creative people take good care of themselves, their physical and especially mental health. So much thanks to BetterHelp. And I think every creative person knows what I'm talking about. I guess one main thing is that we sometimes want opposing things. It's kind of like the old saying goes, wanting to eat your cake and at the same time also wanting to have it. It's just not possible. You sit down to create something and you really enjoy the process. You do everything you can, and by the time you're finished and you're looking at your creation and the outcome of hours and hours of work, you feel sort of unsatisfied, empty. It doesn't live up to your expectation. It's not what you wanted. It's not what you like in some cases. And the same goes the other way around. Sometimes you love the outcome, but the process has been a huge pain in the ass. And if you really think about it, it also kind of makes sense. Because the parts that are really interesting and enjoyable in making a painting, for example, are those parts where you just paint. You switch your brain off. It's almost like meditation. It's a complete flow state that you are in. And hours pass by without you realizing how fast time flies, and you're just immersed in the experience and in the process of making a painting. That is the fun part. The hard part is oftentimes, thinking about it, coming up with a concept, coming up with ideas, planning, organizing, etc. And the more you think, the more you have to use your brain, the more demanding and draining the whole experience can become. And especially in a time like this, 21st century with social media and the fact that every artist in a way has to share and record their process and their images, etc. It is something that you constantly have in the back of your head while pretty much doing anything. You're always thinking about those things. And it does take away from the whole experience in a way where the experience before you even start can be something that you basically dread which of course should never be the case. I mean, every creative process should be something that you look forward to. But it's not like that, not even for me. You know, often I come here in the studio and I feel like I really don't want to turn on the camera and switch the camera every 10 minutes because I need to record different things that I'm doing. Take off my glove every time basically that I do it, etc., etc. It does take me out of the whole process, it does take me out of the whole flow state, and it's not ideal. Now getting back to my painting here, the thing that I had to make sure from the very beginning, before I even got started, was that the process itself of creating this image here, it had to be as enjoyable and free and fun as possible. Because by the time you're watching this video, you probably already know that I don't get anything for doing this. If anything, I have to put in money and I lose out on money because I can't work on anything else. So, you know, if I'm gonna do something like this, it better be something that I enjoy. And until now, it totally lived up to it. But only because I made a very deliberate and conscious decision. I decided to prioritize the process, to prioritize me and what I want and what I like, rather than thinking too much about the internet and other people and the camera, etc., etc. And also the rule book when, you know, it comes to the creation of an image, all those quote-unquote rules that you have. You know, I don't care about any of those, as you know. One of the big reasons why this painting is so enjoyable is because I didn't have to come up with the whole entire idea of the image. Luckily, the phenomenal artist who created this sculpture, actually, let me look up his name so I can give credit where credit is due. Daniel Bell is the name of the sculptor who came up with this cool version of Batman, which in all honesty is also not entirely his own idea, as the design of the character is inspired by Frank Miller's Dark Knight comic. If you aren't familiar with that, it's one of the coolest Batman stories ever written. The point is that I didn't have to put too much thought into that part of the creative process. I could dive right into just making an image, which is always great. You know, it's one of the reasons why, let's be honest, realist painters enjoy making realistic images. You don't have to think too much while creating the image. You just copy what you see, which is very enjoyable if you do it like that. And the other thing that I did was I completely took out the final image out of the equation, whether or not it's going to sell, whether or not people are going to like it on the internet, whether or not it's going to get all those clicks and likes. It's not even relevant for me because I very early on decided that this painting is not going to be for sale. I am doing this just for myself because I've realized over many years that it is incredibly important to do something just for yourself. And the moment I did that, you know, surprise, surprise, I suddenly create a painting, an image that looks better for whatever reason in some parts or in some ways than 90% of what I usually create. And that is, you know, the power of being completely freed from all the pressure and expectations, etc., etc. I know it's easier said than done, but I'm at a point where I constantly remind myself that it's one of the things that contributes to my happiness as an artist in a way like nothing else, to be honest. That is one of the things that I feel like most artists over time forget about. That all of this also has to be fun. When that is what you want, that is. Because the paradox is, and it remains, that you cannot every time have all of it. Sometimes it feels like a trap, you know. You're in this hamster wheel that is just turning and turning and turning, and it's like a vicious cycle that repeats itself. You create something, you're unhappy with the result. You create another thing and you're unhappy while creating, but then suddenly the finished result is what everyone on social media is crazy about. And you are like, what the hell is going on? I have no idea what I'm supposed to do anymore. I guess the takeaway here is that it is incredibly important, for one, to not overthink everything. You know, forget about all the rules, forget about all the things that you constantly have on your mind while creating. You know, whether it's the camera, whether it's the tools you're using, or the process, or what other people think, etc. But also, it's equally important to realize and understand the fact that you can't have everything and that it's not a bad thing. It doesn't need to be a bad thing. You can enjoy the process, you can enjoy the end result. Sometimes you can do both. Most of the time you can't, but that's fine. It's okay. It's part of being a creative person, and once you realize this, you also understand that when you have fun creating something, you can focus on that, enjoy it 100%, and it doesn't matter what comes after that. The only thing that matters is that you understand that you have done something for yourself and you feel good about it. And with that said, I'm gonna wrap up my painting day, come back tomorrow, and hopefully this painting will be one of those rare occasions where I enjoyed the process, but I also enjoyed the final result. I still can't believe that I'm giving this painting away, honestly. But yeah. I'm not normal, I guess is the takeaway here.